So you guys hopefully had a chance to take a look at the problem statement. So what we're going to be building is an app that takes an entry segment of the car and the exit segment of the car. And it'll tell us what the largest possible vehicle that can pass through that service lane is. So if the car is passing through segments 0 through 5, and anywhere between segments 0 through 5 there is only a width of 1, then the largest possible vehicle that can pass through there is the bicycle. So let's get started by actually creating the file, and we'll just call this touch. We'll call it segment. Yeah, segment problem. .rb. And then we'll go into Sublime. Let's get this set up so you guys can see it a little bit better. And so we're going to need some user input. And we are going to need to accept that user input. I'm going to do entry is equal to gets.chomp, which is going to take our entry and, as we know, create a string out of it. But then if we call .split, what this does is it takes our entry and then creates an array out of it. So if we entered, let's say, just for example, we entered 1 and 3 as our segments, our array would look like this: 1, 3, because it's splitting right now on white space. Now you could pass, just so you know, you could pass a parameter to this and say split on apostrophe, or you could say split on period, or whatever parameter you wanted to pass to it. But so now that we have our entry in the form of an array, what we're going to do first is check to make sure that the entry segment is a smaller value than the exit segment, because we do not want, because if somebody enters the entry segment as being 8 and the exit segment as being 5, that's not actually a valid entry. So let's go ahead and define some logic that will make that irrelevant. So we'll say if the entry value 0 is greater than entry index 1, so if entry dot length is greater than 2, so here we're saying if the entry value at the index of 0 is greater than the entry value at the index of 1, put nothing, because there's actually going to be nothing that can pass through that, because that's an irrelevant, those are irrelevant segments. So that would look something like this. If we had values of 6 and 4, if a user input that as their entry and then exit segments, we would then tell them that is not valid. And then again, that is not valid for if the entry is more than 2 values. So if somebody entered 1, 2, 3, 4, that wouldn't be a valid entry. So we're calling the .length method on entry, which will tell us the length of the array, how many elements are in there. So now that we have our array in the form of strings, meaning the elements in the array are all strings, let's convert those to integers. So let's say we take our entry variable and call the .map method. And what the .map method is going to do, it's going to say for every entry, do something. And we are going to use the value variable and convert it to an integer. So for every entry, convert it to an integer. And then we're going to set a new variable called new entries to an empty array, and we are going to plug our new entries, our new values that are now integers, into our new entries array. And so I think this will be a good place to stop. If we want, actually, you know what, let's try actually running this right now. So let me make sure I haven't broken anything. So let's put new entries for now. Oh, sorry guys. That was, I thought the last thing I was on was terminal. But let's go back and run this. So let's say, what was it? Segment problem. Ruby segment problem .rb, enter segments 2 and 3. So we get 2 and 3 back in the form of an integer. Now let's just make sure of that. We can call newentries.class and run this again. 2, 4, and it's in the form of an array, just the way we want it. So I'm going to break here for now, and then we'll jump back into this right where we left off in the next video.